Purple Rain gives the audience a peek behind the scenes at the tension with Prince's real-life band struggles. Through the character of the kid, a fictionalized version of Prince, the film shows off some of Prince's well-known personality traits of being a perfectionist and not always being the easiest to work with. However, these traits are not just made up for the movie. People who have collaborated with him have said the same thing. For example, in a HuffPost article, Prince's sound engineer, Susan Rogers, elaborates how exhausting it was to work with him since he was so demanding. One scene that really makes this clear is when Lisa and Wendy confront the kid.
Every time we give you a song, you say you're going to use it, but you never do. You think we're doing something behind your back. You're just being paranoid as usual. What do you mean? Shut up, Lisa, please. You should know by now that we wouldn't hurt you. You should know by now that we wouldn't put a dark cloud over your head.
The casting directors also deserve a shout out. By casting Lisa Coleman and Wendy Malothan in the film to play their own self, along with Prince playing the kid, it added a level of realness that adds more authenticity. The confrontation scene does not feel scripted or staged at all. It feels like something that could happen off camera. As the film progresses, we see a significant change in the kid's character development. In the final performance, the kid takes the stage and plays Purple Rain, a song that in the movie is written by Lisa and Wendy. This moment is monumental because the song is purely amazing, but it also shows a breakthrough in the kid's emotional maturity. By choosing to perform a song that is not his own, the kid sets aside his ego and shows a willingness to collaborate with his band and those around him. This scene is a turning point. By performing Lisa and Wendy's song, he acknowledges their creative talents and validates their ideas for the band's future growth. Even though Lisa and Wendy did not write the song in real life, the scene still feels super personal, like it's Prince up there rather than the kid. You can feel the emotion from the crowd in the movie, and it hits just as hard for those watching at home. The scene also aligns with Prince's real-life respect for his bandmates' hard work, especially his bassist, Brown Mark, whose loyalty helped form a close brother-like bond with Prince. Even though Prince was known for his demanding work environment, he was still very open to forming personal and close relationships. The bond with his bandmates, both off and on the screen, turns the performance into a monumental moment, reinforcing the genre of autofiction.
The film Purple Rain was shot and published in the 80s, which can definitely be seen in the film. Throughout watching, you'll see bright neon lit lights, which is prominent in the time of the 80s as we all know. Sex at the time of this era dominated music, fashion, and media, and no film can capture this erotic pulse of a decade as well as Purple Rain did. What Purple Rain did was real, the aesthetic of it and everything. Sergei Dabrowski, the father of autofiction, has key conventions on determining if a text is autofiction or not. Although the kid and Prince share different names, which may not count for the convention of a homonymic pact, or to share names with author and protagonist, the events they both experience in this film and in real life are strikingly similar. Another convention is for the text to only narrate events which are considered real. Not to say that some of these scenes are real or not, but what Purple Rain is doing is real. In the time of the 80s, although the film isn't necessarily a straightforward story, the aspects presented through the film scream the 80s and narrated the film just so. The neon-lit clubs and the sexual themes, all of which are seen in the 80s.
Hold it.
What?
That ain't Lake Minnetonka.
I don't believe it! How can you do that to me? Damn you! I'll kill you!
The relationship between the kid and Apollonia didn't actually happen in real life. However, in the film, the relationship is filled with sexual tension and power play. The scene in the lake with the two reflects the time of the 80s being charged with sexual dominance and seduction. The way the kid urges Apollonia to get into the water in order to purify herself is one of his little tricks to see her body naked. Although incredibly rude, if done to someone else, between the kid and Apollonia, the entire scene was incredibly erotic and sexual. The way the kid was telling her this complete and utter lie just for the sake of an edge in the relationship, and the way Apollonia actually fell for this because of her being so in love with the kid. Another sexually charged scene is the scene where the kid sings The Beautiful Ones. Apollonia is being flirted with by Morris Day.
Require anything else besides my company to make you happy? Oh, Lord. Even somebody put something in my drink, and you're the finest motherfucker I've seen in ages.
Excuse me, what did you say?
You look nice tonight.
He says things like, "Your lips would make a lollipop happy," and suggests she come over later and get in the bedroom with him and his waterbed. Anyway, the kid sees this, and he gets kind of jealous. Once he performs, he sings with real passion. It's a mix of jealousy, vulnerability, and love. The kid is asking Apollonia to choose him through this performance, and as Apollonia realizes this, she starts to cry. She wants him to. With the launch of MTV in 1981, media and pop culture was a dominant force in sexual imagery, love, and lust. For example, Madonna's Like a Virgin was also another song with sexually charged lyrics. An example lyric, touched for the very first time, like a virgin, with your heartbeat next to mine. These lyrics depict the emotional experience of starting a new love after heartbreak. By using the metaphor of virginity in the context of finding new loves, it symbolizes a new, fresh, and untainted feeling of love, almost as if you're falling in love for the first time. Madonna and Prince were very influential artists at the time, so you can kind of infer that the music they made at the time also fit the aesthetic of the 80s. From the previous scenes mentioned, and connecting them to Madonna's Like a Virgin, it kind of can be concluded that the events in Purple Rain truly narrated the real sexual themes of the 80s. Many of these scenes may be too dramatized or even unreal in the film, but what the film is narrating is the theme and love of the 80s. Throughout all these sex scenes, songs relating to sex, the kid's desire to be with Apollonia in their relationship, Apollonia's song Sex Shooter, which was an actual real song that Apollonia 6 made in real life, proves that the overall plot of this movie is lust. All these themes were present in the time of the 80s, and the film portrays the theme of sex in the 80s perfectly. The real events in this film are not actually literal, but thematic. The portrayal of sexual desire, vulnerability, and identity in the context of America in the 1980s, the film captures a truth different from the traditional convention of events needing to be real. Rather, the film's truth is in a stylized and honest autofictional narrative of an era defined by lust, liberation, and longing.
In the 1980s rock culture, women were often seen as beautiful and glamorous human beings, but also during this time especially, they were commonly objectified. During this time period, women were often seen as only good for their looks, being housewives, or for sex. They were treated more like objects than people, and many men didn't see them beyond those roles. In the movie, the female characters, especially Apollonia, are shown through the lenses that emphasize physical appearance and sexual appeal. When Apollonia wanted to join the industry, she was immediately shut down by men, likely because it was something that women don't do. Also during the 1980s, sex was shown a lot in music, movies, and fashion. It was often wild and loud, and the 1980s were all about power and freedom. Purple Rain shows this through Prince's character, who is very sexual, showing that side of him in his songs and full of desire for more attention and control. His relationship with Apollonia, which is not real, by the way, is full of passion and sex, but also control and even violence. This fits the 80s style where sex was often shown as something big, exciting, and rebellious, but it also showed the bad side of this time period, like men having more power over women and treating them more like objects than people. Prince's image showed both the loud and fun and problems of how sex and women were shown at the time. The relationship between Prince's character, the kid, and Apollonia is mainly represented as passion and sex, but also violence. While Apollonia is ambitious about joining the industry and highly self-sufficient, working on her own musical career, she is victimized by the kid's emotional manipulation and physical abuse. There's one particular scene in the movie where the kid hits Apollonia, which shows both his internal conflict and the normalized women abuse during this era of popular culture. Prince's violence towards Apollonia probably stemmed from his father. Prince's violence towards Apollonia can be attributed to his own childhood history of childhood abuse and domestic violence. His parents had a violent and controversial relationship. There's a scene in the movie where the father is being abusive to the mother for a reason that is unknown.
I said no! Do you hear me? Mom! Dad! You keep this place clean! Please, Dad, she's heard you!
He wants to kill me.
He's crazy! Dad,
Look what he's doing to me.
Certain biographical reports and newspaper articles have suggested that Prince himself was charged with domestic violence as an adult, showing how cycles of abuse are repeated on through generations in his family. The film represents power, desire, and masculinity that continues to provoke argumentation regarding gender, sexualization, and abuse in pop culture of the 1980s.
For this video essay, you learned that Purple Rain merges both fiction and autobiography to show truths of love, power, and identity. You also learned how the film Purple Rain interacts with Dubrovsky's convention of autofiction about the narration of real events in several ways. Through the raw performances, visuals, and emotionally charged storytelling, this film paints a stylized, honest portrait of the era of the 80s and Prince. Ranging from all of the neon-lit scenes, sexually charged relationships, to intense dynamics in his band, the film tells a symbolic story. A story where the narrative is rooted in emotional reality. The kids struggle with vulnerability and pride, the chemistry between him and Apollonia. Purple Rain as a whole captures the decade of the 80s perfectly, while also giving insight to the viewers about the man behind the music. This film is both an iconic product of time and a personal story of artistic growth, which makes it a thorough and timeless piece of musical cinematic history.